Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Khawatino Hazrat, and welcome to another attention-grabbing episode of FY, where we speak to your favorite personalities about their life, their vision, their struggles, successes, their triumphs, everything. So today, we have a very special guest. He's a multi-talented visual, textile, and performance artist and a curator who is also very passionate about human rights. And he's a wildlife activist, and so you will see a lot of wildlife around us in this episode. He is arguably Pakistan's most prominent political family's son, but also has chosen to carve out his own artistic, free-spirited, yet very committed career in his life. He's very private, he's friendly, he's humble, he's passionate about his rich Sindhi heritage. It is none other than bright, colorful, and wonderful Zulfikar Ali Bhutto Jr. Was that good?
That was amazing. That was the best.
Thank you so much.
That was the best. That was such a sweet introduction.
Welcome.
I have a million things to say just in response to that, but I'll let you lead with the questions.
So we usually do. A lot of people ask us, why do we do this? Why is it called FY? So I always tell them the questioning of things. Why is very important in life. And obviously growing up as a young girl, I was always told to chup kar jao, don't ask why.
Is this a real plant you have down here?
Yes.
That's amazing.
No, we bring it down.
Okay.
It goes back. It needs slides, so we just...
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was
But
shocked.
I love plant. My father used to love it, so I've always loved greenery.
Yeah, same.
So, anyway, coming back to... So this is why when we bring anybody here, we start usually from the beginning, and so people can get to know you better. Thoda sa aapke bare mein jaan lein. I didn't know, because when I did some research, we found out a lot of things, and I thought you were the most amazing, brave human being I have come across. But I actually noticed you during the floods. Okay, and I said, who is this tall man with a topi running around here and there, and saying all of this? And that was when you got my attention. So, and we love activists, and I like to say that I'm a little activist myself. So, so that's why we've got you here. So let's start from the beginning. Where were you born?
I was born in Damascus.
Damascus,
beautiful
Syria.
Damascus,
Wow.
Syria. Yes.
Before the war, I'm assuming.
Of course, yeah.
Okay.
I was born in 1990, August 1st.
Okay.
I'm a Leo. I don't know if that surprises people.
Okay.
If you're into astrology, you know. But I was born in Damascus, and I spent the first few years of my life living there. But I was never a stranger to it. Even after that, we would go every year as a family to Lebanon and Damascus.
Yeah.
And then in 2009, we actually stopped going after that, but we continued to go to Lebanon. In fact, my last trip to Lebanon was just 3 months ago.
Yeah, you've been speaking about it a lot on Instagram.
So both are very close to my heart. The Levant, the Arab world, the Mediterranean side, especially of the Arabic-speaking world, is very close to my heart because it taught me many things. Among them, it taught me to be brave. It taught me to be strong in the face of unconquerable adversity. And that, and this is why in Islam we have this idea of steadfastness. I know you always hear people saying, be steadfast.
Right.
You only really realize what that means when you're encountered with a situation that you have no escape from. And a situation in which if you buckle, you have a potential to weaken yourself, weaken your inner core, weaken your moral core. You must never weaken your moral core. Even if it feels like the world is going to destroy you for being who you are, you must never weaken your moral core. And this is something that Arabness taught me. This is something my faith has taught me. This is something my family has taught me.
Oh, wow. So you moved when you were 9. Where did you move?
No, we were in Syria till I was 3.
Okay.
And we moved back to Pakistan.
You moved to Pakistan.
My father had won a provincial assembly seat in 90, 93, 94, under Shahid Bhutto, Pakistan People's Party's Shahid Bhutto. And we filed his nomination papers. We came to Pakistan because he was officially an exile. Even under his sister's rule, he was still in exile, not allowed to come back. But he won, and he won a seat in Larkana. And he came back, and he was arrested from the airport, and taken to jail. So a lot of my memories with him are actually in jail.
You used to go visit him?
We used to go visit him. I find it shocking when I meet people who have never been inside a jail. Because
I have.
You have?
I have.
Yeah, you haven't.
My crew, by the way, once was in jail in Peshawar, and I had to go get them out.
Oh my goodness. I feel like it shocks me to hear when people have never seen the inside of a prison, because I spent so much of my childhood going and visiting my father, and then I also spent some of my adult life also visiting the needy in jail, people who, on Eid, for example, we would go to the women's jail in Larkana, me and my family. So, these spaces are not unfamiliar to me. But my father was in jail for, I think, just under a year. He was then released, and he had a brief but very impactful political career as chairperson of the Pakistan People's Party Shahid Bhutto group. He was very active in the fight against what was going on in those days, which was target killings, a lot of target killings, a lot of violence in Karachi, tremendous violence in Sindh at that time.
I still remember 1996, when my son was born, there were 10 murders a day.
Yeah.
10 murders a day. That's like 3,650. That's ridiculous.
It was
it's
about,
crazy.
Almost 4,000 people died. And he was someone who never folded. Again, he was a steadfast person. Mm-hmm. He never compromised. He never made a deal. He never fell short of his own standards, politically speaking, at least. And for that, he was punished. And he was murdered by, we still don't know. Yeah. The trials have been inconclusive, and I'm not at liberty to sort of make claims. But we can say, by and large, the state, the police, murdered by the police outside of our home in 1996.
You were there?
I was there, yeah.
Oh, my God.
I was there, yeah.
I'm so sorry. And, I mean, I don't want to go there, but I can't even imagine what a 6-year-old would feel like. Well, what happened? Were you scared?
I still remember that night very vividly.
Okay.
I don't remember the day before, but I remember that night, and I remember the following days. But I remember my sister and I were sitting watching television, and the room was very close to the gate, which is where him and 6 of his companions were martyred. And in those days, you never knew in Karachi if they were sounds of bullets or if they were sounds of fireworks. Mm-hmm. And my sister took me to the dressing room. It was my mother's room, my parents' room. She took me to the dressing room where there were no windows. Because in those days, it was school protocol. Now you would just get down on the floor, you find a place, no windows. No, in those days, that's what everybody was learning. Okay. So we went down on the floor, and I said, "Don't worry, Fatih, it's just fireworks." Mm. I was very little and very naive. And I remember my sister going to the hospital. I was left at home. They didn't want me to see any of that, of course. But I remember the first time I ever grieved for my father was actually when I was 10 years old.
Did your family leave right away, or did you stay?
We never left. Okay. And the reason why I mentioned that, even though he died when I was 6 and I grieved when I was 10, is because when a child that young experiences something that traumatic, the way it was broken to me was I was told, Papa's in heaven. Heaven is a place where people go after they die. I didn't understand what death was. I didn't understand what heaven was. I didn't understand what missing someone would look like when I was 6. And when I was 10, my mother, of course, told me not only... She described the events of his death, what it was like sitting with him in his last breaths.
So he was still alive?
Yeah.
She got to him when he was still alive?
He walked...
It's inside the house. I thought it was outside.
It was outside the gate,
Okay.
of the house. And it was only then that I cried for the first time for my father, and I've cried every time since.
Did you ever get therapy for it? Because it's very traumatic. There's a lot of trauma
Of course. I mean, we're no strangers to therapy in our family, and we're not shy of these things. I mean, of course, we had some counsel, but I mean, it's the therapy of it all is there's obviously ways that you can deal with these things, but ultimately it teaches you. It teaches you in a very rough way the world you're living in,
yeah.
the society you're living in. But we never left. We stayed. My mother stayed. She made sure we stayed. Because ultimately, when you leave after something like that, you give up on a place.
Yeah.
And we never wanted to give up on our home. My mother knew that if we left, it would be taken as an opportunity by the people who wanted to scare us away, So we stayed, we held on, we're still here.
Mm-hmm. Your father's picture is still outside the house.
Of course, it will
I
remain
see it
there.
Every time I drive.
It will remain there for as long as we are here. It will be there. Yes.
I'm so sorry. I'm sorry to take you back to that. I think one of the things that I noticed about everything that I was reading about you is that you felt the injustice and you speak up for injustice, and you speak in many ways, which is from your art to your filmmaking and everything. So when did you decide to leave? Or you went to college after that? I mean, I'm like now fast forwarding.
So I went.
Old.
So basically, I was 6 at the time, and then I, like a normal kid, spent my rest of my schooling in Karachi.
Really, where did you go to school?
First the American school, Karachi American School. Then I went to Bayview Academy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then I was in Bayview Academy till O levels. I did boarding school abroad.
Okay.
For A levels, and then I went to university.
How was boarding school? I mean, London, right? England.
In England.
It had to be England.
It was new. Because it's not like as a family. No one really had got the only people who had gone to boarding school, yes, were my dad and my uncle, but they went to local boarding schools. They went to
HSN.
Briefly, they were in HSN, and just because of my grandfather, because he was a civil servant for a long time, they moved. So they were in Rawalpindi at Lawrence, and then they were also
Ghoda Gali mein bhi.
Yes, and then they were in HSN, and then my uncle even went to Petaro, I think.
Achha.
And so they were, and so obviously, and I'd never heard from them what the experience was like. And even if I had, I mean, it was so different going to a British boarding school. The experience was interesting. I made friends. Now, looking back, we're worlds apart, actually, in our outlook. Yeah.
What about friends here? From school? From American school?
Oh, of course. That goes without saying. I have American school friends. I have Bayview friends.
Those are chaddi buddies, no?
Those are chaddi buddies. I still have. I mean, I have a very, very small network of close friends who I went to school with. A lot of them I didn't even go to school with. We connected because of tuitions. Tuitions was always the place to
agree.
connect. Which honestly, I find tuitions such a scam. Like,
It is
I'm
a scam.
sorry,
It is a scam.
it's such a scam. Looking back on it, it's like, your poor parents pay for one fee in a private school system, and then they pay triple that fee
To the same teacher.
to the same teachers
From that school.
More 9 out of 10 times.
Yes.
To the same teachers.
Right.
And it's like, why even go to school? I mean, now that's the thing. So many kids are shifting to being educated privately or doing their exams privately because their parents are like, at least he'll get individual attention. He'll get a shot. He'll still have, the social aspect of school.
I pulled both my kids out of grammar school.
Really?
Because of this. And people said, grammar school? How can you pull your kid out of grammar? I said, it's hypocrisy.
It is
They're not teaching them anything.
They're not.
And
no.
have unhappy kids. They don't have time for sports or music or anything else. This is ridiculous,
they're
right?
Just
'Cause they're going
sitting
to
and
tuition.
studying, yeah. I remember we didn't even have an opportunity for music class or for anyone to take sports seriously in school because the emphasis was on academia.
Right.
Then after academia, you had more academia.
Right.
And then the tuitions teachers would keep us till 10 p.m. and I'd go home and have a cold dinner, I mean, that was that's mean.
That's bilkul ye elitist school. I just want everyone to know this because I know the principal begged me, don't take your daughter out. I said, no. No, I don't want to. And I was like a star child at that school. It doesn't matter. For me, what's real is real and what's not real is not real.
No, you have to. Yeah, and
you have to stand up for this.
You did a very real thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But boarding school, I remember the kids were nice, but the teachers were so racist.
Really?
Oh my God, they would say some of the most outrageous things. Like one teacher used to. Oh God, I shouldn't.
No, say it.
One teacher lectured me when I talked about British imperialism, how we were glad to get rid of British imperialism. And, I hope, world round we understand that system was bad.
Yeah.
But he went on to say, well, British people, instead of asking for an apology, should start asking for gratitude from our former colonial subjects because we gave you railroads and we gave you irrigation and we gave you this and we gave you that. But if you look at these systems, these railroads, India, of course, had one of the largest railroad networks, surpassing the size of the UK's.
But that was a self-serving.
That was an exploitative system.
It was East India Company, self-serving.
Yes, of course. And the irrigation was also self-serving.
Exactly.
And the amount of famines that we went through. But of course, imagine me, an 18, 17-year-old, trying to explain this to, a 55-year-old professor. It's absurd.
But professor should not be saying something like
Professor should not be saying something like this.
Yeah.
I had a lot of bad experiences with my history teacher, my geography teacher. And again, like you said, I'm not someone who I don't know how to bite my tongue.
Right.
But that was one part of my life, and then I went to university.
Okay.
In Edinburgh University. I did history of art there. So
why art? You liked art? I read somewhere that you used to make dinosaurs when you were a child.
Yeah, I did. I loved making dinosaurs. I do love art. I've officially exited myself out of the art world, the art industry. Okay. And I can talk about that as well.
Okay.
But I'm a creatively inclined person.
Yes.
I think for me, every human has the right to creativity and expression, be that in art, music, sports, whatever. These are all avenues of creative outlets. And we must have these, otherwise we end up with a depressed, sort of lost population. Mm-hmm. And they will take out their what creative energy they could have spent in their creative talents, they will take out in ways that are maybe not good.
Yeah.
So these are all necessary things, but I think the art world for me stopped feeling like an avenue to promote justice, which is what I initially wanted from it. I wanted it to be an avenue to talk about to talk about necessary issues, right? The artist is a reflection of the truth.
Yes,
you know?
because your sister does the same thing.
She does the same thing,
Yeah.
and but you know,
Through her
writing
yeah.
writing is a very different avenue, because in writing you get into, I think, mass media, you get into a much broader area. Your work can be translated, it can be read on multiple platforms, you know, in print, online, on a post, in social media, on a you know, there's so many ways for people to see it and digest it, and I think that's incredible. But with the art world, it felt so it started feeling very undignified as an artist to be working with art industry people, because it wasn't about your work, it was about how they placed you in their networks of buyers, in their networks of art fairs, in their networks of biennales, in their networks of all these things that I've just mentioned, art fairs, biennales, etc.
It's become corporate.
It is a corporate world. It's a corporate world. It's a place for people to hide their money. And it's very degrading for an artist to be part of it, because you constantly have to make yourself small to be you know, brought into spaces. There's a very clear power dynamic between curators and artists, especially young artists that are really trying to make their mark in the art world, right? And they get very heavily exploited, and they get very heavily sidelined, and they have to put up with so much nonsense. And to me, it's like, why am I wasting my time doing this? There's so many other things that need attention, and that's when I slowed down from art, stopped, you know, because I would make these big elaborate pieces, and all the work I do is with my own hands. I've never...
So sculpture?
Mostly textile-based work. I would do a lot of textile-based work, embroidery work, sequining, and everything I would do with my own hands. I never had a karigar. I never karvaud my work. I always did my own work. I designed my own work. I printed my own work. I embroidered my own work.
Nice.
And you know, and one of the reasons why is because I didn't like the way that artists also exploited labor. Why are we now becoming those people that, okay, your artwork is about embroidery, but you're not doing the embroidery yourself, right? So for me, this was a big kind of thing.
But sculptors also do that. I mean, you can't actually, when you have very large pieces, you can't work on it on your own also. It's very difficult.
Yeah, it can get very difficult.
But a designer does the same thing. She designed and maybe she'll make the pattern, or maybe she'll drape, but sometimes you have other people doing it. So I don't know if that makes sense.
It does, but I didn't like that, because then I might as well just start a business.
It's personal then. You want to do it your own way.
Yes, exactly. So I exited myself from the art world and started focusing on the environmental, in my environmental work.
Yeah, now when did that happen? So now I know, because you made this whole thing, which is environment and art connected, because they made that whole statement about the Lahore Biennale. Now, what was that all about?
What was that all about?
Yeah. Why were you questioning it? Like, what was it? I wasn't clear. I think a lot of people weren't clear. Okay, so maybe we can make them clear now. And me too.
We can, of course.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, things like art fairs, biennales, art markets, this sort of corporate side of the art world, is this really relevant for humanity right now?
Okay.
So that's one much larger umbrella of a discussion. Then we get into the minute things. I don't want to call out specific people or anything like that, but by and large, why have an expensive, heavily funded, giant art fair where you're going to use so much material, you're going to use so many resources, you're going to exploit so much labor in the name of the environment?
Okay, so I get it.
That to me felt off, and then looking, of course, at what they had planned. I mean, of course, granted, I can say that there were some things they did that I thought were actually not bad. I don't have specifics right now.
You saw the pictures.
Yeah, I knew the programming.
Okay, yeah.
I didn't go and see it.
I met the curator as well.
Yeah.
Because they were delayed a little bit. They were going to do it
from February to October.
They were going to do it.
But overall, first, I felt that there's no point in doing a biennale about the environment when you're going to waste so many resources. And then bring the environment from a very real, scary issue into an abstract art project. I mean, that's not addressing the issues that we're facing right now. They also called it of mountains and seas. Lahore has neither mountains nor seas. Sindh has mountains and seas. Sindh is where the mountains meet the sea. And the activists that I've grown up knowing in Sindh, who have been working against real estate expansion that has been destroying the mountains, against water mismanagement that has been destroying the river, they were not included in their programming. Those who have worked, slaved, risked all, including their lives, to save the mountains and the seas, were not being included.
Okay, so it was not inclusive as well.
It was not inclusive in my mind. It was kind of pointless. And, I mean, if people didn't understand my point, that's okay too. Not everyone has to.
I think I can understand it, but maybe I don't agree with it, but I can understand. I think there are points there, but then I've not seen the Biennale, so I cannot judge what they did and what they didn't do. I saw bits and pieces, which I've seen here and there from social media, and that's not enough. So I don't really know what they actually did. So you have to be there, I guess, to see what's being done and how it's being done. And I have a few friends, obviously, who are artists. So anyway, but this environment thing, now there's art, there's environment, which is huge. And you've been a huge advocate of the dolphins, the blind dolphins of the Indus, which are very rare. And you've talked about the rivers as well, right? Now tell us about that. Now and you're talking about the water. Or is it living in a city which has no water?
Yeah.
Or maybe does have water, but we just don't get it.
So that's actually an interesting, that's a very interesting point you've brought up. That's true what you said. It has water, but we don't get it.
Really?
And and I can talk more about that, but I'll first address what you mentioned about the dolphins. So I first volunteered for the Sindh Wildlife Department when I was 14 years old.
Wow.
And I went on a dolphin rescue for the first time when I was 15. And it was an incredible experience. So the reason why we have rescues for dolphins is because they end up stranded in the canals. So, in Sindh, from the River Indus, there are 7 major canals that come out of Sakhar Barrage and thousands of smaller, minor branches of those canals.
For irrigation.
Right. And they can stretch several hundred kilometers away from the river, meaning a dolphin can end up several hundred kilometers away from the river. So in the winter, these canals dry. So dolphins have to be saved, and the Sindh Wildlife Department does rescue missions yearly. So I had the opportunity to be invited on one by Hussain Baksh Bhagat, who was the deputy conservator of the Sindh Wildlife Department. He passed away in 2013, tragically, of cancer. But his impact, his brief tutoring of me in the world of environment left a deep impact. And this animal, the Indus River dolphin, is an animal endemic only to Pakistan.
Yes.
And we have no pride in it.
It's not our national... Mahor is the national...
Yes, is our Qawmi.
Yeah, which was also endangered. I mean, they pay a lot of money to kill it now, $80,000,
yes.
$100,000.
It's kind of it's absurd, but to me it makes sense why the markhor is our national animal. And I say that because Pakistan's a very patriarchal country. It's a very masculine country.
Love hunting.
So the markhor is this tall, elegant animal sitting on a mountain with big horns.
The big horns.
It screams masculine. It's the horns,
it's the horns.
It screams masculinity.
Yeah.
Whereas the Indus River dolphin is a quiet, shy, sleek, very effeminate. Yeah. Even the word Buland, which is the word for the dolphin in Sindhi, is a feminine word.
Right, okay.
And in Saraiki also it's a feminine word. It's a very effeminate animal. It's very shy. It's very elusive.
How many do we have?
We're doing better than we used to.
5,000 I read something.
No, not that many. 2,000.
Really?
Yes.
That's it?
Specifically 1,987.
That's terrible.
As of 2017. But when they did the first census, granted, they didn't have the same tools at their disposal that they did in other censuses. But the first census in 1974... that was taken by Sindh Wildlife Department, the figure was more like 174. individuals.
Okay, that's like a completely endangered species then.
It's on the red list. Yeah, it's on the IUCN red list.
It is.
And the thing with the Indus River dolphin is, yes, we've gone from 174 individuals in 1974 to now 2,000, almost 2,000 individuals across Pakistan.
You can't breed them anywhere.
No.
Is it also because the salt water meets the river? Why they're blind?
So they're not at the delta. They're in the fresh water. They don't go to the salt water.
They don't go to the salt water.
And they're mostly present from their main. So they're divided into 5 different populations, and each population is divided by a barrage.
Right.
So you have a population. You have 3 distinct populations in Punjab. One is between Jinnah and Chashma, but sometimes they count 2, sometimes they count 0. Depends on the year of the survey. And then you have another small population between Chashma and Tonsa.
Are they tagged?
No, they're not tagged. I've actually been on a survey.
Right.
I traveled without a motor from Chashma Barrage all the way to Ghazi Ghat, which is about 60 kilometers south of Tonsa, Kot Addu. We lived on the River Indus for 2 weeks. I lived on islands in the River Indus, brushed my teeth from the River Indus, ate from the River Indus, washed my plate in the River Indus, camped on the islands. You know, I remember going to sleep, my body would automatically sway because we were on boats for the whole day. For, I think, a good month, I fell asleep like this.
How nice.
And, you know, we would hear jackals howling in the middle of the night across the river. We would go to these different islands that were covered in ladybugs, which is a sign of a healthy environment.
It's beautiful.
It's stunning.
Listening to you. It's passionate and it just sounds romantic almost.
It is. Yeah. I mean, I don't know how to describe it because for me, the Indus is magic. It is romance. It is magic. It's everything. And if you only have to step your feet in the mud of the Indus to really feel what she is and what she means. And not enough people in our country have done that. There is such a disconnect between especially urban people and their river. They don't understand it. They don't understand. They understand it in what the geography textbook says. There's water in the river, take the water out, put it in the fields. That's all they understand.
I don't look at it.
Maybe you don't.
Because I've been everywhere.
You've been everywhere.
I've muddied in
You have appreciation. Yes, I'm not talking about you. I'm sure you have an appreciation for the mud and the soil of the Indus and the water of the Indus and the creatures of the Indus. But so many people, not as a way to demonize them. I'm not saying it that they're bad, but I think it's just we as a country have not, like you said, so many of our kids are just going to school, sitting hunched over desks like this, reading until they can't think of anything else, going to sleep and then repeating that process.
They do take them to see the babies hatch on the.
Now they do. If you go to a private school, if you go to private school, that's the least they can do. But they do that once, right? When you're really young.
Right.
But they don't, you know, like even the syllabus doesn't say go take them to Turtle Beach, right?
Yeah.
The syllabus is our geography syllabus, our national attitude to the environment is exploitative. It is in its core exploitative. Mountains are for minerals, rivers are for water, trees are for wood, animals are for animal husbandry, you know, putting them in the field, taking their meat, whatever. You know, the sky is for injecting our pollutants into once we're done with everything. Look where we've landed up.
Yeah.
You know, we have an AQI index in Lahore of 2,000.
I know, that's crazy.
And Sakkar in northern Sindh, it was 800 the other day. So one of my friends, Dawar Butt, who actually does a lot of this monitoring of air quality and has a lot of great suggestions. If only our government could bring in his talents and expertise. He sends this to me periodically to remind me that it's not just Lahore. And it's like a disease. Yeah. It's like it's growing in our country. It's taking over our country. We're not breathing. Even Karachi now, it's the AQI has been rising from 80. Now we're almost at 200 today.
Yeah, I saw that today.
So, 200 is bad.
Yeah.
2,000 is unimaginable. Right. These poor Lahoris are living, and New Delhiites are living literally in a chimney, in a smokestack. And so many young children are being affected
breathe,
by
it. You can't
it.
see, you can't go to work.
You can't hear the birds.
Anything, there's nothing.
There's nothing.
That's not life.
No, it's awful. And this is
Yeah.
why I talk about, people, I've gotten some criticism. It's not too bad, but some criticism from people saying, oh, he only talks about dolphins and, whatever. It's fuzul ki baat hai.
फजूल की बात है,
कि
ये
मतलब
फजूल बात है।
इंसान के हुकूक के बारे में नहीं बात करते, सिर्फ
नहीं, क्यों?
डॉल्फिन के लिए आवाज उठाते हैं।
The prophet said,
हाँ,
you can tell a city or a town by the way they treat their animals.
of course.
That's what he said. When he entered, he says, इस तरह पता चलता है कि लोग, उस शहर के लोग कैसे हैं, कि वो अपने जानवरों का किस तरह का behavior कैसा उनके साथ. So, I mean, if he can say that, so, I mean, how can you say that, that, I mean, the thing is ignorance as well, and lack of education
Yes.
is also responsible for the mistreatment of dogs on the streets and, just cruelty to animals, and then not have understanding what this dolphin means or the mahor means.
Yes.
And the Hobart bird, what is it called?
Hubara bustard.
Hubara, the ones they come and shoot and they pay a lot of money. And Rahim Yar Khan, I don't know where it is.
In Cholistan, Thar.
Yeah.
But the thing with animals that we have to keep in mind in terms of why are animals important for humans, right? They're not just important for humans in the sense that we sustain ourselves from them, or there are guard animals or companions or whatever you have it, be it a positive or a negative thing. They are the indicators of the environment that we live in. And we as human beings cannot ignore this environment. So, for example, in Lahore, look at Lahore now with the smog. The birds are not chirping. The air has gone silent.
Right.
That tells you that your environment is unsafe. Like when I said, when we saw ladybirds on the islands of the Indus, it was an indicator of a healthy environment.
Yeah.
Dolphins in the river are an indicator of a somewhat healthy river, a river that we can at least sustain ourselves off of. When you start seeing the dolphins go, you know that your time to go is near. When you stop hearing the birds,
Very important point.
when you stop hearing the birds, you know that your time is near. When you stop hearing the dogs barking and the cats meowing, you know your time is near. Now, we can either ignore these silent days and empty rivers, dead skies, dead land, and keep going, and then ultimately meet our doom.
Yeah.
Or we can listen to the silence, change things, and bring back the ronak.
So now this is this is something you've been doing also during the floods. Tell me about the floods. I mean, that is also an indicator, right?
Of course.
The earth is warming up, so there are more tsunamis, there are more earthquakes, there are typhoons. It's like the 12th typhoon in Philippines this week, right? I mean, not this week, but just yesterday was the 12th one.
Wow.
So they just keep continuing and going on. People don't understand it. I know a long time ago, I don't know who the vice president was. He did a very nice documentary, which won an Oscar, actually. Vice President of the United States. And that's when
Al Gore.
Al Gore.
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
fantastic. That's when I actually realized that the earthquake was, the tsunami, and everything else was all together.
Right.
It's all connected.
Right,
People
right.
don't realize that. People think, okay, it's getting hot.
Yeah.
Oh, and there's flooding because of it. Or the glaciers are melting.
Yeah.
But it's not that. It's inside.
Yeah.
It's inside and outside. It's not just outside. It's inside. What we're doing over here, it's heating up, right?
It's heating up.
So, what are you doing now? I mean, you've told me about this. You're using your voice and you're putting up stuff as well. And you come from a very, I mean, I don't know what to say. How should I say it? Like in the introduction, you come from a prominent family. And so there is a certain power in that, and your sister's a writer and she's used her pen, I mean, throughout the last at least how many days? 400 days, over 400 days of Palestine, and you know, you spoke up about Lebanon because you obviously, and I was like, why is he speaking about Lebanon? Suddenly there was a noise from the brother. I was like, what's going on? Because then I realized you're friends there, and that you've been there so many times.
Yes.
You know, and then so you want to do away with the art side of things because you think it's become too corporate. So you think as an individual you can work on social causes on your own and raise enough awareness.
I mean, I'm never on my own.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I think I'm not an isolationist, right?
Okay.
I don't believe that there's no such thing as a people or a country or a group or anything that can survive in isolation, because the nature of our world is that we do depend on each other.
Right.
So obviously I'm in collaboration with a lot of people. Like you said, there is, because of the family that I come from, me saying something versus someone else saying something has a different weight to it.
Right.
And that's not something I can help. Whether it's something good I say or something bad I say, something I say in passing, something I say with a punctuation at the end, it doesn't matter. It will get read in whatever way that people will read it. And so obviously this is why I see myself as someone who has a duty to speak up and work also, not just speak.
Right.
You know, I'm also working. I travel. My organization Buland Bachao, we work a lot with rural communities to sensitize them about not only dolphins but about all animals in their environment. And so, you know, this is work.
Do they understand, people?
So far, so good. We've had a good response. We show a film. We give toys to kids. We don't just make it like this is bad, this is good, this is bad, this is good. We try and make it fun. We try and give it a weight. And
do you work with international organizations as well?
No, we're very small scale. We do one outreach program a year. The rest is media.
Okay.
So we don't take money from people. We've taken medicine donations for our medical camps, but we don't we don't take money from people.
What happened during the floods? What were you doing there?
So floods actually was kind of the start of my, quote unquote social work. When the floods happened in 2022, I had freshly moved back to Pakistan just a couple years earlier from the States, and I was still getting my footing. In this country. I mean, I came back, and I did.
You did, right? And you stayed.
I wanted to come back, and of course I stayed. I love my country. Even when I lived abroad, I loved my country. My childhood is here. My
schooling was here.
My loved ones are here, and
let's talk about the floods first.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
so
when you
I'll
came
come
back.
And so I'll start from the beginning.
Because this is when I noticed you.
I'll start from the
beginning.
Ye kaun hai?
Ye kaun sa? Ye kahan se aa gaya? Nahi, mujhe I knew Fatima. Nobody knew there was another brother. I mean, you have another brother too.
I have Mir Ali.
Yeah, chota hai wo.
We have Mir Ali. Yes.
This is your father's name also, na? Mir.
So it's also
Mir Murtaza.
Papa's name was Mir Murtaza. So it's funny, we have a lot of Alis and Murtazas in the family.
Yeah.
So Murtaza to वैसे is an epithet of Ali, na? As in Murtaza ke matlab hai Ya Ali, bilkul.
Now why? Are you Sunni Shia?
Oh my goodness, you're getting into the details.
No, I'm asking. My last guest was very important to talk about the Sunni Shia thing and how important it is.
So, I mean, I think, obviously...
You're Sunni from your father's side, that I know.
We are Sunni from my father's side. Yeah. We are Molai.
What's that?
So...
Mixed.
So for example, my grandmother, my dadi was Shia. And very much
from Iran.
Right. Very devout Shia.
Begum Nusrat
Bhutto.
Right.
She would do her Panch Namaz. She would do Majalis. We always had an alam on top of the house, even before her.
Okay.
So the reason why I say we're Molai is because even the names of our family before my grandmother were all Shia names.
Mir is Kashmiri name.
Mir is a Kashmiri name. Murtaza is a Ali. Shahnawaz is a Shia name. Murtaza is a Shia name. Zulfikar Ali is a Shia name.
So all her children got...
So we follow even other branches of the Bhutto family.
Right.
We are Sunni, but we follow Shia protocol. We follow Muharram ke Pehle 10 din ke Majalis. We do Niyaz on Ashura. We all have an alam flying over our house always. We grieve for the family of the Ahlul Bayt. We are firm believers in their sacrifice, and that their sacrifice should not be forgotten.
Sunnis also do the same.
Sunnis also do the same. So that's why I'm not giving myself a label.
I agree, because my parents would never allow us to put music on in the first 10 days of Muharram.
Bilkul, sahi
We
baat
never
hai.
had any parties or anything.
But nowadays, I have to say,
Niyaz deni
Niyaz.
padti thi. Majlis pe maybe we didn't go to the, is it called Jamaat? I don't even know what it's called.
Imam Barga.
Imam Barga. We never went there. The first time I went there was when I got married to a Shia. But I didn't, we did that. But ab nahi hota.
Yeah.
अभी अब जो society है ना उसके अंदर बहुत कम हो
It's become very segregated.
क्यों न्याज क्यों नहीं देते मुझे तो ये समझ नहीं आती because it was all about giving food and water.
So now the people I've noticed who do the most niyaz and the most who have the most love for the Ahlul Bayt and Hussein are Hindus and Christians in Pakistan.
Really?
Yes, without a doubt. In Thar Parkar, you go to Mitti. Over there, Hindus are in charge of the niyaz. They're in charge of taking care of the people who are involved in the jalus. Here in Karachi, there are a few Christian homes that do majlis. There are also many Hindu homes that do majlis here. There are Sikh homes in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa that do majlis. The love of the family of Imam Hussein is not restricted to a religion. It's not restricted to a firqa.
So.
It's not restricted to Sunni, Shia, Hindu, Muslim. It's sacrifice.
It's at the end of the day, everyone will relate to that. I'm going to go back to the floods now.
You keep thinking about.
I know it's not you. It's not
you think about
the
floods.
It's all the words you say, and I'm like,
I'll repeat from the start since I stopped. So in 2022, I was just 2 years before that I had moved back to Pakistan, and obviously it was raining, and I remember I was doing an art show then, and the curator was just being so obscenely demanding of so many things, and then Larkana was flooding. I started getting calls all the way from Tonsa first. People were calling me from Tonsa saying हमारे बकरे मर गए, हमारे भैंस मर गए, हमारे ये हो गया, हमारे घर डूब गए. And I didn't know what to do in Tonsa. I didn't know Tonsa. I didn't know South Punjab. Then the floods came to Larkana, and they came to Sindh. And when I first got news that the area around the house was starting to flood, and the house itself was starting to flood, I immediately just got in the car, and we have a little Corolla. We don't have any big cars. And we went on the national highway, and there was, on one side is the Kirthar Hills, and the other side is the river. On both sides, the water was rising.
Really?
And we got to Larkana, and my intention then was, I just had a sense of responsibility towards the people close to me. Obviously, my staff.
Do you have a house there?
Of course.
And lands also, right?
It's the original house it's Al Murtaza, the house of Zulfikar Ali Bhutto.
Okay.
And so the lands got flooded, but my responsibility was to my farmers. So I went to visit my farmers, and they took photos with me, and they made those photos viral. And it's kind of funny because some people have actually said that they were staged. But what's actually kind of hilarious is that they just weren't.
So
I mean,
you don't have to worry about what people say.
I don't have to worry about what people say, but I mean that's the power of social media. That's what I mean. I'm not fixated
I just think
on
you're very
that.
brave, and you don't have to get hurt by these.
Oh, I don't. These are silly people. These are silly people.
It's terrible. No, there's a lot of hate, and there's lots of jealousies, and there's a lot of people don't like brave people. You have to understand that. Because they are the people that are showing them how cowardly they are. Do you understand what I'm saying?
The people who point the most fingers are the people doing the least.
Exactly.
And that's very true. And but the floods, that's the thing. the farmers were happy to see that someone was there.
Right.
For them. And I went around. I also went to visit the wildlife officers that I had worked with, to go to their homes because they had also experienced grief. So my plan was to just visit people who were going through a tough time during the floods.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, people noticed. It grabbed people's attention because of whatever reason, because I am who I am. And, of course, that presented its own responsibility.
But you're also like quite a figure, you know, you're walking around. I saw you like with the ajrak and thing, and you know, it's important when we're talking about personality. Everybody can't get that. People do stage things. A lot of people do genuinely help, and a lot of people do it anonymously.
Yeah.
And a lot of people want to show off.
For sure, yeah.
Because they want brownie points from everybody. Look,
clout.
Doing my thing, you know. Yeah. So I'm just saying, because you are that kind of figure, and that is why you were standing out. Okay, fine. I didn't even know you existed till that point. So,
Ta-da.
good or bad, it just happened. And it helps you in all the ventures that you're going to go on, which I've only seen good so far.
Thank you.
No, it's true. Like, I mean, we're talking about serious things. We're talking about $150 billion that now they've been demanding at the G20 for the poor countries who are most affected by climate change. And I think our government has been screaming about it. Not this government, last government. Everyone's been screaming about it. That we deserve this money.
I mean, I have thoughts about that.
Yeah, tell me about it. I don't even know where it's going to go.
That's the thing. We don't know where it's going to go.
Is it going to go to that poor dolphin? Or is it going to help?
No, it's going to go. It's going to go. I can tell you first.
The smog?
I can tell you for a matter of fact, they'll do 1 or 2 impact projects, and the rest will be spent on directly the opposite of what it's supposed to be spent on.
Yeah, it'll go on some stupid scheme, some guy will say, or it'll go into someone's pocket.
Weapons.
I'm saying it I don't care.
No, but it's, I mean, I think this is, unfortunately, this is the standard conversation around politics. But my opinion on the whole thing of that global polluters are responsible for our environmental issues, that is true to a point. It has a limit because we have pursued in Pakistan such aggressive anti-nature politics and policies, since even before we were a country, and we've continued very aggressive, water mismanagement policies.
I don't think people understand it. I don't think they think it's important.
Well, they don't, but if we don't think, but that's the thing, right? Like, how can we not think it's important and demand money to fix it?
No, I don't. That's not what I mean. What I mean is roti, kapda, makan. So basically the poor person, which is majority of your country, 70% of your country, they're poor. For them, they don't have this education कि ज़मीन गर्म हो रही है और pollution हो रही है और ये सब हो रहा है इसलिए हो रहा है वो तो कहते हैं अल्लाह मियाँ गुस्से में है इसलिए हो रहा है I'm telling you the truth. They don't understand climate. They don't understand climate change. I don't think so. I don't want to. I'm saying there's a lot of ignorance because of
there's a lot of undoubtedly there's a lot of ignorance and there is a part of people that makes it think that this is their fate. But I will say that the exposure to maholiati tabdili, right? We have an Urdu word for it now.
Okay,
for climate change, maholiati tabdili. This is now even in the farmers' mouths. Because I spend a lot of time in Larkan, I spend a lot of time with farmers, and they understand that mausam abhi badal raha hai.
They do, and they understand soil erosion.
They understand, of course, because they deal with it firsthand. They see it. Yeah. So they can see that, 4 years ago, their summer was bearable. Now, as of the last summer, we reached a point in Sindh where it was unbearable.
Yeah.
Unbearable. And people, okay, sure, Allah Mia ki taraf hai, but it's also, they understand that there is a pollution aspect. There is an aspect of our role that we play in it. They just don't understand how do we not do these things? What are our options not to do these things?
Do you think they're teaching them in school now?
No.
They're not.
They're not teaching them in school. And that's the thing. We can't demand for money from the West until we've created a strategy internally to deal with our problems. We've not created a strategy to deal with our problems. Right now, the government of Pakistan wants to take 6 canals, 6 canal, from the Indus River and the Satluj. There's no water in the Satluj. Where are you getting this water from? The Indus, they're trying to pump the water from Tonsa Barrage and throw it in Cholistan. There is not enough water past Sakhar Barrage to feed these 4 million acres of land that they're trying to irrigate in the middle of the desert, that they're calling cooperative farmings. Now, when you say cooperative to someone like me who's had a bit of a hippy-dippy education, cooperative to me means farmers come together and decide how they cooperate and do their land. No, that's not what they mean. They are leasing land to big wealthy individuals. I met someone the other day who said, I've leased 5,000 acres from the army for my cooperative farm. He's a big businessman. He's not a gharib that he needs 5,000. 5,000 acres. That's phase 8. Is 5,000. Phase 8 is 4,000 acres.
Right, okay.
That amount of land going to one person is insane. And this is what is happening in our country, and this will dry our river, this will kill our dolphins, and this will kill the people of Sindh. This will bring the people of Sindh to starvation point. And if this plan continues, there are only dark days ahead.
So tell me now, you've always said, I don't want to go into politics, and I want to forge my way through whatever I'm doing. Is it still the same stance? Are you still standing by that?
I think what has changed in my attitude is that everything is political.
Yeah.
Everything is political.
But you see what happened to Imran Khan? He went on this social cause thing. He won the World Cup. He made a hospital. He was making educational centers. And suddenly he went and he decided, I have to do this. Because it's the only way.
Right.
I mean, it's just it's like a ongoing, and it's your family suffered so much. You know, I look at your family, I can even understand, I can't even imagine what your grandmother went through. I can't, because to me that is just, you know, you lost your father, you lost all of them too. But for her, it's her children, it's her husband. It's one out, and it's just ridiculous. There's just one child left, Sanam. And I'm just thinking, do you want to go this path? Do you think that there's no other way?
You know, it's not about me having a desire to be on a stage and giving speeches. I think a lot of people, when they think about going into politics, they think about this being the main thing. It's not that. There is a matter of feeling a sense of responsibility and weight. I'm not saying I'm going into politics, but I think being political is a responsibility for us, because it's not like I'm living in a country that's doing super duper well.
No, it's not.
That I can say, khair, jo bhi hoega wo to sahi hai. Right? I know, like I said, if the government builds these 6 canals, we're doomed. And
that's the federal government. We're talking about the provincial government, right?
The provincial government also. I mean, we're you know, with all due respect, the PPP has you know, not handled things very well, either at a level of Karachi or at a level of the province. They say one thing, you know, they get all like, we want to save the environment, we want to save the trees, we want to do this, we want to do that. And then they end up like cutting down the trees and selling the mountains.
Did they just cut down the trees just now recently when we were all screaming and shouting 2 days ago? Karsas. Why? Because they had to get a tank or something through. Do you understand?
Ridiculous.
That's what they did.
Yeah.
And once in front of the Marriott Frieha Hall, they cut these trees. I remember my daughter was like 8 years old and really upset. Mama, they've cut down. And I said, why? Because some little branch hit his tree. And then that was it. It was like gone. These beautiful old trees were gone. Yeah. And it was so traumatic for the child. Yeah. And I'm just thinking, okay, so yeah, I agree with you there. Okay. I think also Karachi is like the armpit of Pakistan. I don't want to say armpits are bad, but I just feel like it's here, you know, somewhere under, and nobody really wants to look at it.
It's an abused city.
Yes, it is.
It's an abused city. Karachi is an abused city. It's the, Yeah. I don't. There's so many metaphors that I have, and I'm not going to say them. I go beyond armpit, but it's battered. It's a battered city.
Right.
It's an exploited city.
Right.
And it's been sucked dry.
Oh.
And nothing has been given back to it. And I don't think that's just the fault of the Sindh government, right? There is a federal government that is making sure that Karachi's money goes to the center first and then comes back to us later.
Because it's 69%, isn't it?
It's yes,
There's
exactly.
something like that.
70, well, I've heard 70,
There's
but
the
69
GDP,
is
that's
also
like 70% of the whole thing is coming from the city.
Yeah.
And yet the infrastructure in this city,
Yes.
the only time we feel good is the smog hits Lahore and we're like, hallelujah, we live in Karachi, shukar khuda ka.
I mean, but that's the thing, we live in a city that is a working man's city, but it's not built for a working man.
Yeah.
You know, the footpaths are broken.
There's no footpath.
There's whatever we have are broken. That's what I'm saying.
There are little gardens outside everybody's house.
There's little gardens. There's little
People
exactly.
walk on the road.
The rich are allowed to fully encroach upon the lives of the poor. Infrastructure is built not for the poor but on the poor. People's homes are demolished. In the I think Gujran Nala was called Gujran Nala, Liari. We have so many examples. Liari itself, 250,000 people were displaced for a single highway. That is the largest human displacement for an urban project in history.
I didn't know that.
In history.
Wow.
If you can you imagine 250,000 people?
Yeah.
250,000 people were displaced for a single road.
They were not given a place? Was that the
There
home?
were some people were given a place in Hawke's Bay.
Okay.
Not everyone was given a place.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
But some people were given a place in Hawke's Bay. But it was a terrible project. All the elites of Karachi were like, yeah, it should happen because we need Liari Expressway. And you know, only now are people developing a moral consciousness. When I was a kid, I remember we were fighting about Liari Expressway, and I remember not a single one of my school friends who now maybe would be on the side of the poor for clout.
I started seeing Karachi looking slightly better. I'm going to say during the Musharraf era. I saw the brick came back, the sandstone. I saw it on the Clifton Bridge. I saw it on the Potari Parade. I saw, you know, the whole Mohatta. The whole thing sort of started carrying through the city like in Islamabad or Lahore. You have the red brick, everything, the Alhambra, the whole... It's like the matti. It's the matti. It's our matti.
I mean, he brought the yellow brick back, but he also disappeared 4,000 people. So
okay,
I think
I don't want to go there. But I'm just talking about what would you do? What would you do?
What would I do for Karachi?
What would you do?
I don't want to get people too excited, but I would definitely make Karachi have a better relationship with the sea. Right now, Karachi's turned its back on the sea.
We have 600 kilometers of...
That's incredible.
Yeah, but who owns it? Tell me who owns the
I know who owns it. I'm not going to say who owned it.
Sea.
The
Can you imagine if there was in any other country, you would have resorts lined up?
Well, I think it's not even just about resorts, right? It's like, how do you don't even have to have resorts. Like, if you think about a place like, if you think about Shireen Jinnah Colony, let's take Shireen Jinnah Colony, for example. It's a very small place with a very dense population of people from all over the country. And it is surrounded by sea on two sides. And it's surrounded not just by sea, but by mangrove forests, by jungles on two sides.
They ate up half the mangroves.
But they didn't. The real estate mafias did.
Yes.
But the thing is, their lives can be significantly improved if they had a better relationship, or if they were given the opportunity to face a clean coast, a clean view of the mangroves, clean roads, right? Sewage that doesn't just empty into the water and stink up their environment, or empty onto the street and stink up the environment. These, you know, the sanitation is linked to ecology, you know. Infrastructure is linked to ecology.
How are you going to do it? I'm just wondering.
Well, I'm nowhere near to even thinking about that. I think the only way to do it is to listen to what people want, is to make sure people are living lives that are dignified.
Okay.
And a dignified life is better public transport. A dignified life is a more walkable city. A dignified life is not living in fear of the wealthy potentially running over you with their Vigos.
I saw you came in here in a normal car. Not a normal car, not a bully car. I call them bully cars.
Bully cars, yeah. Okay. They are bully cars.
So, do you not feel afraid? No? You've never had that? You feel loved by everywhere, wherever you go now? And
I don't want to jinx it.
I know, mashallah. Mashallah, yeah, touch wood.
I don't want to jinx it. I don't want to jinx it. Yeah. It is what it is. I mean, I guess now people know, but I drive around in a big car if I need it, and I have a lot of friends who have them, so I don't see why I need to waste money on one. And I also, like you said, they're bully cars. I don't like being a bully.
Wow, yeah.
You mentioned in your introduction that I have a shy side to me. Yeah. Part of my shyness is actually going unnoticed. Being in a big car with a mobile behind you will make you noticed. And I think for me, the way I go around, the way I try to dress, the way I present myself is actually, in some way, I do try and erase myself. I do try and...
very simple, very humble.
I do try and blend in because I am a bit shy. Okay. I enjoy the love of people. I love when people come up to me and obviously say nice things. And if they say bad things, I also take that with a pinch of masala.
What is this red ribbon you're wearing? Tell us about that.
So December 1st is HIV and AIDS Awareness Month. And even though we're in November, I figure this might release sometime in...
Pakistan has a big this problem too.
Huge. Yeah. Huge. There are...
also talk about it. They do, but they do talk about it now more. But I think it's something important to talk about.
So you know what's interesting?
Yeah.
I think when we talk... Pakistan is a place that experiences tremendous health issues.
Right.
And I think some of the biggest health issues in our country are diabetes.
Okay.
And TB and HIV. Now, the thing is that when you look at HIV, the only thing stopping people from seeking treatment and getting themselves tested is stigma.
Yeah.
But otherwise, if people do have HIV and they end up getting on medication, they live a long life, a normal life. Their viral
like
load. But that's the thing with diabetes, you have to change your whole lifestyle.
Yes.
It's actually, in a lot of ways, it's a really bad thing to be stuck with for the rest of your life, to have diabetes, because you have to watch what you eat every day. You are constantly risking becoming chronically sick all the time. And that's the thing, right? So many people in Pakistan have sugar, and they're not afraid to say, I have sugar. But people are death scared to say, I'm HIV positive.
Because there's a taboo on it.
Because there's a taboo
It's also like breast cancer. I'll be honest with you, because I'm an ambassador. The girls will not even go get themselves checked up because they think they can't say the word breast or chest.
I've heard this.
Yes, I'm telling you.
I once ordered from Barbecue Tonight a breast piece.
Yeah.
And the man corrected me and said chest. And I said, right.
Yes.
Sine ka piece.
Exactly. You know?
And I was like, in Urdu it's the same word. So I don't know what you want me to say. Do you want me to say like the not leg? I'd have a not leg of chicken. I'll have the part of the chicken that is not the leg and not the wing. So I'll leave that for you to guess which part I'm going to have, and I'll wait for the surprise. So
I agree. I think there's even things like words can make such a difference. But awareness, obviously, is very important.
So, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. People associate HIV with sex, but it's not just associated with sex. It's also associated with the public health sector.
Yeah.
The vast majority of HIV and AIDS cases are intravenous drug use, especially in Sindh. Yes. Punjab actually has a much higher rate of HIV and AIDS. People don't talk about that. They think Sindh has a higher rate.
Right.
But nationwide, the rate is going up. And out of, I think, the 250,000 known cases of HIV in Pakistan, only 19,000 people have sought treatment.
19?
Out of 250,000, only 9,000.
We have 250,000 people infected.
And they've not gotten treatment.
So they're going to die.
Well, that's what happens if you don't get on antiretroviral drugs.
Right.
You will likely, not everyone does because the disease affects people differently, but in 5 to 10 years, 5 to 15 years, you will eventually, what happens in HIV is that your viral load goes extremely low.
It's a lot like cancer.
It's a lot like cancer.
You can get other diseases and you can catch on something else and then you can get weak and then you can't fight back.
That's exactly what happens with HIV. In fact, it used to be called a cancer at one point before people understood it as a virus. But that's exactly what happens, is that you eventually will die of another disease. Because your immunity has gone down so low. And you go through a similar process of wasting and that whole thing. It's very miserable, but preventative. That's the thing. We don't have a cure for cancer. We also don't have a cure for HIV. But we have a very good preventative care for HIV.
I know. And I think this is something which is also, oh my God, Pakistan has so many issues. Allah, kahan ja.
Well, that's why I can't leave.
I know. So tell me now, who named you Zulfikar?
Oh, my father and mother both agreed to name me. Yeah.
That you should be. So your father, was he close to his dad?
He was, yeah, very close.
He was the eldest, right?
He was Benazir was the eldest, but he was the eldest boy.
Yeah.
So he had a lot of responsibility. My grandfather placed a lot of responsibility on him in terms of taking care of the family's welfare.
Right.
Watching over everybody, making sure everyone was safe, guarding his legacy also. My grandfather was very, as far as I've been told, he really emphasized on my father that he needed to safeguard his legacy, especially in the wake of his especially leading up to his execution. My grandfather was very clear about the fact that my father was to avenge his death.
Really?
In whatever way possible, meaning politically avenge his death, right? Be the force in the family that stood strong and stood firm against the incoming dictatorship of Zia-ul Haq.
Well, God has his ways, right? A few mangoes.
God does have his way. Yeah. Obviously his descendants are still very much among us, but God does have his way.
Yeah.
And
so anything else you want to tell us? So politically, we're not sure yet where we're going to go. I think you could be a very, very good spokesperson for so many things that you are doing right now. I always feel like on a civilian level, we can do so much because you also have that gifted, you can have, I would say utilize it, obviously, and, utilize it for the good things that you want to do. Other than that, I want to know what. Okay, so I know that, because when I don't know you, right? This is the first time we are meeting. I just know you through your social media and whatever's been written. And so it's change. There's change from today and what I have down in my notes. So there's, I wish you well because I can see the goodness in you. I can see the whatever you want to do. I think that's more people needed for that. Whether it's social cause, whether it's art, whether it's writing, whether it's culture, anything.
I think I think this has been an incredibly comprehensive interview. And I think you've asked a lot of very important questions, and I think we've really gotten into the core of it all. If there's is there anything I want to say? I want to say, maybe as a last begam, if I can, that I hope that the people of Pakistan can stay strong. I can never begin to imagine what someone else is going through in their lives. But if we're to change this country, I certainly can't do it alone. And we can't rely on just a few good people. We need a lot of good people. It's a lot of people we have to take care of.
Yeah. I also like that closing statement because there was so much Sindh in the conversation that just felt like, where's Pakistan? And there was like...
I believe in Pakistan.
Yeah, because there's
have
a lot
to.
of people who talk about this, that there's going to be different provinces, there are different countries, you know, Pakistan is not going to be like this. In the future, this is the bad news. This is like what I hear, I'm saying. It's not nice to hear.
It's not nice to hear.
Yeah.
I think I've said this before, a unifying... One thing that should unify all of us as Pakistanis is our river.
Yeah.
The river Indus. Because every province, Balochistan, Sindh, Punjab, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Kashmir, they either depend on the river or they feed into the river, right? So we've made the Indus a Sindhi issue, but it's not a Sindhi issue.
No, it's not.
The health of the river is a national issue. The fact that the river is called Daryai Sindh, maybe we can say in that way that Sindh extends all over Pakistan, right? In that sense, Sindhi nationalism, if Sindhi nationalism is associated with the river, it should extend throughout the Daryai Sindh reach.
I've never thought of it like. I've always thought Indus was the big mother, right?
Indus is the big mother.
And the other 5 rivers are just. I don't think we even have Beas. I think we have Ravi and we have Satluj. I've seen the rivers, all of them, and I've seen them converging. Good. It's the mother. It comes out of Kashmir. It comes out of the mountains, and all the way from the Himalayas. It's the mother.
Yeah.
You know, and so for me, Pakistan is Indus.
Pakistan is the Indus.
It's not Ravi or Satluj or we don't even remember the other few. Sorry.
Well, Indus, Jhelum, Chenab. Ravi, Satluj, Beas.
Yeah,
and then there's
Beas?
Beas is in India. No, it's in India.
See, there you go. Yeah. So,
but they actually have a really nice national park there.
But it's the Indus, right? That they all feed into.
They all feed in. It's all the
Indus
catchment
that goes into the sea.
It's the body of the Indus. Yeah.
It's the line.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, beautiful line.
It is Pakistan.
It is Pakistan. Yeah, it is. All of Pakistan, the Pakistan is the Indus.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that can unify us. You know, we're constantly in search for these abstract unifying things that are hard to give an image to or a shape to and ultimately are not 100% kul unifying.
Yeah.
But the Indus is 100% a unifying aspect in our country.
Every country has one. I feel like the Ganges, then you have the Rhine, you know, you have the Seine, you have the rivers, the Euphrates, all of these rivers define those countries.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
The Yangtze River, I mean, Golo, where are we going to go? Gosh. That's what I learned in geography.
And they're all in danger. They're all in danger.
Very nice to have you here, Zulfikar. What do you call, by the way? Zulfi or Zulfikar? Full Zulfikar. Very good. No nicknames. Okay. We didn't talk a lot about your life. We talked a little bit about your life.
I think we talked about my life in the way that I like my life to be talked about, which is in the broader context of other things.
Yeah.
Bigger issues. Yeah. I don't like to make things too personal.
Take it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi guys. Don't forget to watch our next episode of Fwhy Podcast, and please don't forget to like, subscribe and comment. We look forward to hearing from you and see you later. Have a good day. Bye.
Hello, everyone. I am Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. I had an amazing conversation just now on the Fwhy podcast. Please watch this episode, like, comment, and subscribe.